Well, hello everyone. I have a question for you. Can you solve this equation as quickly as you can in about 30 seconds? So we have a small business list 5 salary figures: 30,000, 32,000, 32,000, 35,000, and 110,000, the owner's salary. What is the difference between the mean salary and the median salary? So what do you think? Is the answer going to be A, 0, B, 12,200, C, 5,800, or D, 16,000? So something to kind of think about. So what do you think? And what are we looking for? So again, a small business listing of 5 salaries, the 30K, 32K, 32K, 35K, and 110K. Okay, K meaning 1,000. Okay, what is the difference between the mean salary and the median salary? And if you think you have an idea, go ahead and put it into chat. But if you're not sure, that's okay. Let's see if you could put a question mark there. Okay, so for those, as you guys are thinking, hi, my name is Audrey Codner, and I am the owner of Math by Audrey, which is an online math tutoring system which helps students, especially from 7th grade up to adults, who are trying to do well with their algebra, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, a little bit of trig, but mostly those that are doing their GED, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, TEAS test, HESI test, anything that has algebra in it, especially the ACT and the SAT, which another one is going to be coming up in September. Alright, so that's basically what I do. So if you're not sure how to approach this, let me walk you through. Alright, so first thing, we have 30s. Notice all 5 of these listings is in the thousands. So instead of you trying to add up 30,000, 32,000, 32,000, just focus on basically the 10,000s, or in this case the 100,000s that they have. Okay? Just hold off on the zeros. So if you're taking a test, especially the ASVAB or the Accuplacer, you are not given a calculator. So a lot of this stuff you're going to have to do by hand. So we have our 30,000, and since there's 2 of the 32s, I just did 32 times 2, because there's 2 of them, plus the 35, plus the 110. So they want us to find 2 things. One, they want us to find the mean salary, and the second, they want us to find the median salary. So we need to know the difference of those 2. Now, to find the mean is to find the average. That means you're taking the sum of your data and dividing by how many digits or data points are in it, which is 5. So this is going to help me find my mean, my average. So if you have 32 times 2, that gives you 64, and you have your 30 plus your 64 plus your 35 plus your 110, okay, that means my mean, before I divide by 5, will be 239. Now we're going to take that 239 and divide by 5. So how many 5s can go into 23? Well, that will be 4 without going over, which gives me a remainder of 3. And now that 3 is now a 39. So how many 39s can go, how many 5s can go into 39? Well, that's 7. That gives me 35. So 35 minus 39, that gives me 4. So if I add a 0, how many 5s can go into 40? That's going to be exactly 8. But remember, we just did the first 2 digits. These are representing thousands. So if it's representing thousands, that means I could take this number and either multiply it by 1,000, or since 1,000 has 3 digits, has 3 zeros, we can move this decimal place over 3 times to the right to make it back into a bigger number. That's 1, 2, 3. So that means I have to add 2 zeros. Okay, that means I will have to add 2 zeros. So now I have 47,800. That's going to be the mean. So I go back to the equation, or back to the question, what is it asking for? They want the difference. Difference means subtraction. So they want the difference between the mean salary, which we all know is 47,800, and we need the median salary. So the median, MED, mid. So we're looking at the middle number of our data. So take a look. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I'm counting towards the middle, we knock out the 30 and the 110. We knock out the 32 and the 35. So the one that's in the middle, because my numbers are already in order, my middle term is going to be 32,000. So if my median salary is going to be 32,000, they're looking for the difference of the two. Hi, Danny Bell, how are you? So they're looking for the difference of these two. So that means we're taking a look at 47,800 minus my 32,000. Right away, when I'm about to do my subtraction, okay, I'm doing all right. I got my 2 sets of zeros, but then I have 8 minus 0. Well, 8 minus 0 is going to give me 8. So right now, in the 100 spot, I'm going to have an 8. Which of my answer choices have an 8 in the 100 spot? Right here at C. And if you don't believe me, 7 minus 2, that gives me 5. And 4 minus 3, that gives me 1. And I get 15,800. Okay? So this one, you had to find the mean of the salaries. That's the first thing. Then you had to find the median of the salary. And the key part with the median, you have to make sure that your data was in order. And it was 30, 32, 32, 35, 110. Okay, so you're going to count towards the middle. And since it was an odd number of terms, that means we're going to have a whole number right smack in the middle. All right. Hello, Joe. How are you? All right. Hey, JB. Okay. So that's what's happening for part C. Okay. Let's take a look at another one. So a lot of people get mean and median mixed up. And this is why I do these things. So we can kind of get a little bit clearer picture about it. All right, so here we go for my ASVAB people. The logistics team measures test flights duration in minutes. So 12, 15, 18, 15, 22, 26, 32. Which of the following statements is true regarding the mean and the median flight times? Is it A, the mean is equal to the median? Is it B, the mean is 2 minutes greater than the median? Is it C, the median is 2 minutes greater than the mean? Or is it D, the mean is 5 minutes greater than the median. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, thanks for the follow, Evelyn and Kim. Appreciate it. Okay, Top Man, how are you doing? Okay, so hopefully I'm teaching you now, Top Man. Here we go. Cha-Cha, thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate that. And how are you? All right, or Che-Che. So what do you think? Okay. You're good? Awesome. All right. So let's see. They love throwing a lot of comparison problems, regardless if it's a GED or the ASVAB or the Accuplacer. They always like to do comparison, especially with mean and median. So we need to kind of take a little look at what's happening here. Okay? Okay, I have plenty of exam questions, and most of them are on sale. That's on the link that's in my bio. Okay? So, we're looking at that mean. We're looking at that median. Okay? So a lot of people remember the mean, median, mode. Thank you. Okay? Yeah, there's practice questions in there. So now, we need to take a look at what is the mean, what is the median. So first off, let's find the median. Sometimes when they give me questions like this, and I notice right away that my numbers are not in order, I'm going to have to put it in order anyway. Okay, it's not going to do anything for the mean, but having the order is probably going to help me out with the median. So my lowest number here, we have with our 12, and it looks like the only thing I might have to only switch is this 18 and the 15. Let's see if I look at that right. Yep. So that means we have our 12, we have our 15, and our 15 is being used twice. We have our 18, we have our 22. Let's see if we can reach that. Yep, 26 and 32. Just trying to squeeze it all in there. Okay, so when we're finding our middle number, we're basically counting towards the middle. And it looks like it's 18. So that's going to be our median. Okay, so that's going to be our median. Now, our mean is when we're going to add all these numbers up. It doesn't matter what order. Okay, so we're going to add all these numbers up. Sometimes I kind of like to group them. I know I have two 15s, so that's going to give me a 30. I know I have the 12 and 18, that's going to give me a 30. All right. Then I have the 22 and the 32. That's going to give me, what, 54? And then I have my 26. So since it's all addition, especially when I'm doing like a tested time, I try to group my numbers up as much as possible. So then you have your 60. And then that's carried, that's 7, that's 8, so it's 80. And then, because I just combined these two, and I combined those two. So this gives me my 140. So when you're finding the average, the mean, you divide by how many numbers we had in the original set. Okay, so we had 7 numbers that's in the set. So that means you have your 140 divided by 7, which gives you 20. And that is your mean. That's the symbol for the mean. Okay. If you think about it, it looks exactly what's happening. You have your sum, which will be up here. Here's your fraction bar. And then the number of numbers is representing your x. All right? So now we're looking at your mean is 20 and your median is 18. So right away, we can get rid of And this is what you want to do, process elimination. I want to get rid of the first one. The difference of 20 and 18 is 2. So I can get rid of the last one because they said it's 5. But then which one is bigger? The mean or the median? It's going to be your mean. So your mean is 2 minutes greater than your median. It's option B. Okay, it's option B. Nope, this has nothing to do with Dear Aunt Sally. You can, but it's just basically summarization and division for me. Okay, all right, good. Okay, so in order for you to answer number 7, 1, you have to know the difference between a median and a mean. 2, you're going to have to actually calculate each of those. So 3, you can actually see what's happening. Okay? All right. All right. So that's why you should watch my videos. That's why I'm here to remind you. Let me turn this down a little bit. Okay? All right. Last one about mean, median, and mode. Maybe. All right. So the test scores of 8 students are 65, 70, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95. What is the sum of the median and the mode? Is it A, 147 and 5/10? Is it B, 148? Is it C, 150? Or is it D, 152 and 5/10? Okay. All right. So your mean, that's your average. Your median, that's the middle. Med. Okay? Med, that's going to give you your middle. Whereas the mode is the most frequent. Which one keeps repeating the most? Okay? Yes, there may be some that's repeating, but which one is repeating the most times? Okay? All right? Yes. So we got to pull things out. And the reason why I do this, Top Man, is because when people see word problems, they freak out. And they're just like, no, I can't do this. Because I know I had over 200 people in this live for a second, and now we got to 91. Because it's either the concept is a little too less, or they see a word problem and they immediately shut off. Okay? Okay, Chandler, I see with you. My bad, I see you as well. Okay, so we're breaking things down step by step. So first, are my numbers in numerical order? So I'm looking at 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95. They're in order. Yes. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, A-Rob. So now, we want to find the median and the mode. In this case, the mode is the easiest one. Which one is repeating the most? Okay, which one's repeating the most? Okay, okay, Larissa, thank you for putting in. Avaska? Is that what it is? Okay, thank you. My bad, thank you. All right, Danny Bo, thank you. Okay, so the one that's repeating the most is the 70. All right. So now we need to find the median, the middle number. So I just count towards the center. So I'm literally going to count towards the center. And the reason why I do the canceling out like this, because it helps me. So I got 3 of them canceled out here. I got 3 of them canceled out here. So that means my median is going to be between 75 and 80. It's not as easy. If this was 78 and this was 80, I'll be like, boom, it's 79. Easy. But how we can figure it out is we're going to add those 2 numbers up. and then divide by 2. Okay, does that ring any bells? Okay, so if you're in between two numbers, and there's a nice little space there, okay, I would say it's like 77.5, but let's make sure it is. All right, so we have 75 plus 80, that's 14, that's 15, that's 155. Okay, 155 divided by 2. How many 2's can go into 15 without going over? That would be 7. And doing the same thing for this one. 7 times 2, that gives me 14. So now, if I want it as a decimal, I add my decimal point. And now I'm going to add a 0. I'm just going to bring down 1 0. So how many 2's can go into 10 instead of 1? There'll be 5. So yep, 77.5. So that's our median. Why 2? Because you want to find the middle, the median of these two numbers. You want to find the middle, Jazz. Okay? All right. Okay, you want to find the middle. What's going to be smack in between these two? So if I add these two up and I divide by 2, I'll find that number that's in between. Okay? But did we answer the question? We need to take a look. It says, what is the sum of the median and the mode? Well, we found the median. Okay, we know that the median is going to be 77.5. And then our mode was 70. And all we're doing is adding those two numbers up. So before you do anything, I notice I have a decimal point. So that means I'm going to bring down that one decimal point and I have a 5. Notice that 70 is not underneath the 5 and the 7 because 70 is actually 0.0. Okay, it's a whole number. So that means this is your 1s and this is your 10s. So if I were to line up my decimal points, I notice that in the 10th spot, there's a 5. So right away, I can do process elimination. B and C is done. Okay, so now I have a 7 that comes down. The only thing that has a 7 in the 1 spot is going to be A. So if you're doing standardized testing, that's a way that you can break it down and get the answers that you're looking for. Okay, if I want to finish it out, 7 plus 7, that gives me my 14. Okay, so when you're doing standardized testing, please remember, they do not care about your step-by-step process. But if you're in the classroom still, because sometimes I'll get students in here, you need to show your steps. Because that's one way that your teacher can say, oh, I know exactly where you're going, and I know exactly where you kind of messed up at. But let me give you partial credit for this, but then we need to correct this right away. That's why you're always showing your work if you're still in the classroom. But if you're doing the standardized test, all they care about is did you pick A, B, C, or D? All right, so make sure you understand that, okay? So this is why I take these things step by step. And I show my work on here. The reason why, because if you're taking the ASVAB, trying to get into the military, or if you're doing the Accuplacer, I know here in Maryland, I think some areas do it differently, you can't use a calculator. Calculators are forbidden. So you're going to have to learn how to do it manually. Okay, so that's why I teach it this way. And I know so many people just put it in the calculator. Yeah, it'll be nice like that. But in your GED, they'll release the calculator for certain problems. Okay, so again, I'm in Maryland, so you know I heard that New Mexico, you're allowed to have a calculator for the Accuplacer. And some people, when it comes to the GED, they are given a calculator. So I don't know. Every state is different. Okay. Yep. No calculator, Sweet Tone. No calculator. All right. Now, range is a different animal. Okay. Range is a different animal. Range takes on variation. Mean, median, and mode, they focus on the measurements closest to each other. So mean is usually as close into the middle. Median is the middle. Most is the most frequent. Range deals with variation, how far apart they are. Okay, that's when you take your highest minus your lowest. Okay? All right. Excellent job, guys. And again, if you want more practice on these things, I do have practice books available in my profile. But before we get to that, try to do this. Okay? What would my answer be? What is my answer? You're like, ooh, what is this, Audrey? This is called function notations. Okay? And it is available. People, for my GED, this is a 4-point question. Okay? This is a 4-point question. We do not want to sleep on these. All right? So I see some people, some brave souls. I love it. Okay? Jack, I see you. Jen, I see you. Jazz, I see you. JB, I see you. Person with a whole lot of Squid Game symbols, I see you. But there's a musical note. Okay, thank you so much. All right, okay. Ja, I see you. Star, thank you for your honesty. Okay, I appreciate that. Because then I'm going to be able to break it on down for you. Okay, and for others too. All right, good. The Cynic, I see you. All right, let's take a look. Now, we're talking about, we have a function here, and they said we wanted to use the G function. Okay, hello Jackie, haven't heard from you in a minute. What's going on? But so glad that you're here. Okay, Javette, I see you. So we're talking about the G function. There could be any function. It could be F function, P function, G function, M function. Everything except for E and I, because those are actual numbers. But if you notice that inside the parentheses an X, but we want to find the G of -5. -5 and X are basically in the same spot. So this is saying, hey, wherever you see an X, I want you to plug in a -5. So now from here, we're simplifying what's called an expression. The reason why it's called an expression because there's no equal sign. So you're simplifying, not so much solving. So if you remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. From left to right. That's the part everyone forgets. So right now, only thing that we have is inside this parenthesis. So -5 plus 3. Exactly. So if I'm combining and the signs are different, you're basically subtracting. But think of it this way. If you owe me $5 and you gave me $3, guess what? You still owe me $2. Right? So now we're done with the parentheses. Now we have our exponent. So this is the part where I can tell if someone put a calculator in here. So this is -2 squared. Okay? You are squaring the -2. If you just type in -2 squared like that, the calculator is just going to square the 2 and then tack on the negative. But for the -2 squared, it's saying you are multiplying that base of -2 2 times. So a negative times a negative will give me a positive, and 2 times 2 will give me 4. So that means the G of -5 is a positive 4. And ladies and gentlemen, what you found is a point that's on this graph of x plus 3 squared. That's what you just did. You found the point. Okay? Alright. Never mind. Okay. How did I get the positive 4? Because you're multiplying a negative 2. So it's negative 2 squared, not negative 2 times negative 2. That means negative 2 is your base. The 2 here is your exponent. So the job of the exponent is to tell the base how many times it needs to multiply itself. So negative 2 times negative 2, a negative times a negative gives me a positive, and 2 times 2 gives me 4. Okay? Did you get that, Falco? So that's why it's a positive 4. If you typed in your calculator without putting parentheses around the negative 2, that's why you got a negative 4. Okay? It is the power of parentheses. Okay? Alright. Let's try another example of doing it. Oh. Boom. The sun doesn't know, like, should I come up? Should I not come up? What's going on? Alright. So, evaluate. Ooh. She's like, Audrey, you're trying to kill us? No. Trying to challenge you. Okay? If you can do some of these problems, this is a little more advanced. Okay? This is one of the things you might see in the Accuplacer, or you might see in the SAT or ACT. Okay? I think the next ACT is September 19th, and the next SAT is September 12th, if you're not doing your PSATs. And PSATs are usually in October. So if you have anybody or know anybody that's going to be a junior in high school, that is the PSAT you need to pay attention to, because that's the PSAT that colleges use to give you extra scholarships. If you don't like money, hey, figure it out, because that's how life is. Okay? So if you know anybody, pass that word on. Pass that word on. Get themselves prepared, get themselves ready. Okay? Alright, so if you think you know what the answer is, don't be afraid, put it in the chat. If you're not sure, you're like, Audrey, I don't even know where to start, put a question mark. Okay? And it's okay. This is going to be a safe space. Okay? I don't tolerate any foolishness, because I don't know. 53 years old, dude. I ain't got time. Like, I ain't got time whatsoever. Alright? Alright, my Squid Games person, thank you for your honesty. Sorry, I have to call you that because I don't know. There's too much stuff going on here. Star, thank you for your honesty. TCL Williams. Is that a 1 in front of the 2? No, it's not. These are absolute values. So it's 2x minus y cubed. So the absolute value of 2x minus y cubed plus 4 times z plus 1 squared. Okay, Jazz, I'm seeing you with 23. Jackie, thank you for your honesty. Okay, not a problem. I know, sometimes we don't see too much with absolute values, but they love to just throw one in there. They do. They do. Okay. So breaking on down as best as you can. Okay, as best as you can. I'm going to look at a couple more. It's going to take like 5 more seconds, and I'm going to break it down. Okay. So now, for those that are just coming in, my name is Audrey Codner. I'm the owner of Math by Audrey, which is an online math tutoring service. I'm here to help people, refresh themselves with algebra review, and also to help those that help them get their GED, raise their scores of GED, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, test, HESI test, anything with algebra in it. All right, so JB, you're saying 13. Hello, Brenda, how are you? All right, so let's take a look. Anytime they say the word evaluate, that means I'm going to be doing some kind of substitution. Yes, Coco, I see you. All right, so what's happening is we are actually substituting these numbers. For x, we're substituting negative 1/2. For y, don't freak out because you see a fraction. I know that's what you did. For y, you're seeing a negative 2. Your z, you're plugging a negative 3. So if I have this absolute value, And then we have 2. I'm going to put a parenthesis, minus, I'm going to put another parenthesis, and that's going to be cubed. And here's my absolute value. Okay. Then we have plus 4 times, and we're going to put another set of parentheses for the z, plus 1 squared. So for my x, I plug in a negative 1/2. For my y's, a negative 2. And for my z, a negative 3. Okay, so now we did our substitution. We're going to focus on this part. Take it one step at a time. We're always trying to look at the whole entire problem, and you wonder why things get crazy. Let's focus on the absolute value first. So, inside the absolute value, okay, we have multiplication and we have a number being cubed. Work with the exponents first. So that means we have the absolute value of 2 times that negative 1/2 minus, and this is what gets a lot of people. So negative 2 cubed. That means negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 gives me a positive 4. 4 times a negative 2 gives me a negative 8. This minus sign that was before it does not take the place of this original negative. The only time that this bad boy is going to change is what's going to happen in the next step. Okay, and this was absolute value. So now we got multiplication. What are we multiplying? We're going to multiply this 2 times that negative 1/2. And, believe it or not, you're going to be multiplying this negative times this negative 8. Because what's assumed to be there? A 1. So, I want to take a positive times a negative. So that's going to give me a negative. Now, what's half of 2? Half of 2 is going to be 1. Okay? And all of this is still happening in between the absolute value. So now here we have a negative times a negative. That turns positive. Okay? Alright, so you got it? Never mind. Okay. So now we have a negative 1 plus 8. So if I had $8 and I spent $1, guess what? I still got $7. And the thing that we need to know about absolute values is that they're always what? They're always positive. Okay? Because the absolute value is basically your distance away from 0. From, say that this is my house, and I have a friend that's 7 blocks to the right of me, and I have another friend that's 7 blocks to the left of me, they're still 7 blocks away from me. So that's why the absolute value of 7 is going to equal 7. So that is the left side. So that equals our 7. Now, let me cover up this side and work on this side of the expression. So just like order of operations, we got to do what's inside the parenthesis. So you actually have a plus 4. Inside that parenthesis, negative 3 plus 1. If you owe me $3 and you gave me $1, guess what? You still owe me $2. Okay? Hey Janice, how are you? So now, we took care of that part. So now negative 2 squared. A negative times a negative, that gives me a positive. And 2 squared is the same as saying 2 times 2, which gives me 4. And why is it still inside the parenthesis, you ask? Because that parenthesis is now representing multiplication. Because I got to multiply this 4 with this 4. And that gives me a positive 16. So now we got to put it all together. So we had 7 on one side. I'll put it over here. We had 7 on one side. And we plus the 16 from the other side. So all together, 23. Okay, all together 23. Okay, so this is what I like to do. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, man, I answered that like forever ago. Of course you did. Of course you did. Okay, so for those that like to take pictures and stuff, okay, you can take your quick pick. But this is what I like to do, breaking it down. See, it wasn't as bad as you thought it was. Exactly, Star. Okay? But see, you guys, when you see a problem like this and you see a little extra step, you freak out. You're like, substitute first. Then ignore all this stuff and take it bit by bit. You can't try to take the whole thing. It's almost like you're trying to eat the whole pizza in one bite. You're going to choke. Enjoy it. Take it step by step. If you have to, if you have to put your hand over it and then focus on one side to get an answer, do that. Then you cover your hand on the other side, then you focus on the other side and get an answer and do that. And you remember, what were we doing? We were adding these two together. So then you just add your two answers together to get the 23. Okay? All right? Stop looking at the whole thing and freaking out piece by piece. All right, so we have a couple more problems left. So let's see. I know, it's like I have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So Jay got a raise and his hourly wage increased from $40 to $52. What is the percent increase? Okay, what is the percent increase? I'm going to tell you right now, GED, you might see one of these. ASVAB, you're probably going to see more than one of these. They love percent increase. They love distance, rate, and time formulas. They love what was the other one? Age problems. Okay, Jan is 5 years older than Marcia. Marcia is twice as old as Gary. And they'll ask you, how old is Gary? They love those type of problems. Okay, if you can get past those type of problems and you're starting to see, especially for the ASVAB people, and you're starting to see like equation, the line, and slopes, that means you've gone past that 31 threshold. Okay, that's what a lot of people keeps telling me. All right, so I've seen some 30%. I see my bad. I see you. Okay, is that okay? Avaska. Okay, I see you. I see my question marks. Thank you so much for your honesty. You hate those problems. I know everyone hates them, but we have to get through them. Okay. Danu. Okay, is this on my YouTube? Yes, it is. Okay, Jackie. All right, I see you. All right, so now, when we're coming, anytime they're saying percentage increase, this is what you're thinking. You have your new minus the old divided by the old. And you might have to use the absolute value, But then, since we're talking about percentage, you want to multiply that by 100 because you're going to change a decimal into a percentage. Okay? So, if we look at it, the new is 52. All right, not too shabby. The old is 40. So since 52 is larger than 40, we're not going to have to worry about the absolute value. The reason why I put the absolute values, or sometimes they have the absolute value around the formula, is if you have to go, if they switched it around, say that you were getting paid $52 and they decided to, only pay you $40. Well, that will be a price decrease, okay? So, but your answer will always be positive. That's why they put the absolute value in there. You're going to divide by your old rate, which was 40. Now, here's the first mistake a lot of people make. You are not canceling out the 40s. The only time you can cancel out the 40s if this was 52 times 40. If you have multiplication happening up here in the numerator, that's when you can cancel out the 40s. Okay, so your answer is not going to be 52%. We actually have to do our subtraction. So we have our 42, so that gives us our 12 over 40. Okay, so from here, you can do your division. Okay, we want to get that decimal. You can do your division, and this is what happens. Your numerator goes in the house. Your denominator is outside the house. Some people mix that up. So I know I don't have enough 40s to go into 12. So I have my decimal. I put my decimal up top. I add my 0. So instead of a 12, I have 120. So how many 40s can go into 120 without going over? I have exactly 3. Because 3 times 40 gives me 120. Now, as a decimal, you can multiply this by 100, or you can take your 0.3 and just move it 2 places to the right to go from a decimal to a percent. And why am I going over 2? Because 100 has 2 zeros. So you're going to go over 2 times, which gives you, as many of you guys wrote, your 30%. Okay? All right? So understanding the formula will help you out. It's your new minus the old. Okay, the new minus the old divided by old. Okay, new minus old divided by old multiplied by 100. Okay, and if you're taking a test that you can't multiply, I don't want you to waste time with the multiplying of 100. Just knowing that, hey, the 100 has 2 zeros, that means I need to move this 2 decimal place over. You're going to deal with a small number, so you want to make it larger. That's why you're going to the right. Okay? Yep. Okay? Yep, and you can do it that way as well. All right. So, let's see what we can do. I just want to keep it light and simple. Okay? Translate this. This is going to be our last problem for today. Translate this from verbal to algebraic. What would that look like? Go ahead and put that in the chat. So from verbal to algebraic. Some verbal to algebraic. Hey Shells, how are you? So if this was a word problem and they want you to translate it. Okay. So Star, I see you. Kamar, I see you. And if you don't understand what's going on, just let me know. Okay. Okay, Jackie, I see you. Okay, and if you're not sure, go ahead and put a question mark. Okay, if you're not sure, go ahead and put a question mark. Okay, Janice, I see you. Okay, any others? Okay, all right, thank you, Jackie. Okay, thank you, Jackie, for your honesty. So, let's take a gamble. Let's take a look. Oops. All right, so we're saying 9 increased by a number. So increase by is actually an operation. If I'm increasing, I'm adding to something. So increase by means addition. So my 9 is increased by a number. So in actuality, it really should be 9 plus a number. And the number can represent any letter of the alphabet except for E and I, because those are actual numbers. Okay? So since it's increased by, it's going to be plus a number. So now, that's all you have. That's how that is translated. Okay? In my cards, I used ends, but same thing. Okay? Alright? The only time these things switch around is if you see less than or more than. Okay, less than or more than, that's when they switch around. Okay, anything else, you write down as you see it. Okay, you had a good try. Okay, so the X is the number. The number could be anything. Okay, so I'm using X as a representative of that unknown number. Alright, hey Pastor, how are you? So now, I have 3 cards here. You know how it is. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3. Which one do you want us to use? Okay, put the number in. 1, 2, or 3. Okay. 1, 2, or 3. Okay, I'm seeing some 2s, I'm seeing some 2s. Oh, a couple 3s. Oh, 3's in the lead. Got 1s, 3's in the lead. Oh, 2's getting there. Alright, seeing some 2s. 3 went back to the lead. 2s, 3s, 2s. Okay, it looks like it's going to be, there's no 4 unstoppable, you already said 3. Okay, so it looks like we got number 3. And what does that say? And we're adding to this, okay, is at least 15. Okay, not too shabby. Is at least 15. How would I write that? Is at least 15. Hey, Snoopy. Okay, is at least 15. How would I write that? So we have the beginning part, which is 9 increased by a number, so that's this part. If I want to extend it, and it came up and it said is at least 15, how would I say that? Okay. Ivashka, I see you. Zashona. Okay. Chiquita. Good. Close, Yoda. It's not going to be equal 15, but I think probably it's kind of hard to get the signage. Okay, Snoopy. Okay, close. Just get rid of that X. Alright. So, here we go. Anytime they say is at least, we're looking at an inequality. If they ever say is less than or is more than, is at least, is at most, we're talking about inequalities. Now, if I want to make at least $10 today, that means If I make anything less than 10, that's not acceptable. Okay? But if I want to make at least $10, that means I'm talking about $10 and up. So at least is going to be greater than or equal to. And what is it greater than or equal to? 15. Okay? So that means it could be equal to, but it has to be greater than or equal to. So now from here, we're going to do some solving. Okay? So from here, we're actually going to do some solving. What should I do next in order for me to get x by itself? How do I know what x is? What should I do next? Okay. All right. So since the 9 and the 15 are not on the same side, in order for x to be by itself, there we go, we're going to need to subtract the 9 on both sides. So thank you, Eva, which I'm like messing up your name terribly. Thank you, Snoopy. All right, so we're going to subtract 9 on both sides. The reason why you're subtracting is because this 9 is positive. This plus sign is acting as a positive for the x, not the 9. A lot of people have a tendency to mess that up. So now 9 minus 9 gives me 0, and I don't need the 0 as a placeholder because I still have this 1x that comes down. They cancel. But then 15 minus 9, that gives me 6. So here's the thing. It's a nickname. Okay. All right. So now here's the thing. Do I change the direction of my inequality sign? Put that into the chat. Do I change the direction of my inequality sign? Okay. So Chiquita, I see your answer. Javette, I see your answer. Jackie, I see your answer. Unstoppable, I see your answer. Ivanishka, I see your answer. Kimar, I see your answer. Okay, not sure, Chiquita. Alright, I got you. Alright. Alright, my Squid Games friend, I see your answer. Alright. So, this is the thing. Because you subtracted, the inequality sign stays the same. It only changes direction if I multiply or divide by a negative number. Okay? So this will be our answer for this problem. Let me throw something else up. If I had negative 2x is less than, I don't know, 10. If I wanted to solve this problem, I would divide both sides by negative 2 because I want to get x by itself. So a negative divided by a negative gives me a positive, and 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. So I can bring down a 1x or an x. That's perfectly fine. But because I divided by a negative 2, my sign is going to change directions. Not because my result is a negative 5. It has nothing to do with the result. Okay? It all spans on what you divide by. So if I said 3x is greater than or equal to negative 12, if I divide both sides by 3, I will get x, and I have a negative 4, but my inequality is going to stay exactly the same. Just because I got a negative result doesn't mean that the inequality sign changes, because I divided by a positive 3. This is what gets a lot of people. It's not about getting the result that gives you a negative, it's what you divided by. Here you divided by a positive 3. So that inequality stays the same. But when you divide by a negative, divide or multiply by a negative number, that's when you flip the inequality sign. Okay? So just knowing those little nuances can help you do process of elimination when it comes to the test. All right? How are we feeling? So Chiquita, how are you feeling too? All right? So it's not about the result. It's about what you multiplied or divide by when it comes to inequalities. Feeling okay? Okay. All right. So, I know school started. I still got one more group of students. Baltimore County, they don't open until next Monday. So, there's going to be some times during the week I am going to be coming on like around this time, maybe a little earlier, instead of coming on in the early morning, because everybody's either at work or taking their kids to school. Like, who's going to watch a math TikTok? Crazy, right? But if anything, as I mentioned before, and this will be helpful as well, I do have a YT channel, okay? Math by Audrey. So all of my recordings are there. Now, later on today, I'm going to start my recording of my new series called Back to Basics. So if you are struggling with adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing integers, fractions, decimals, even order of operations, exponents, I am literally going to make smaller, like 12, maybe less than 20 minutes, definitely less than 20 minutes, like 12-minute videos on how to break these concepts down. I know there's so many videos out there, but you know me, I put my own little splash on that, okay? So, Anthony, this is not the platform for you, okay? Appreciate your comment. All right, so I'm going to be starting that sometime soon. I'll let you know when it's all completely done. And then you can watch the videos at your pace, okay? This is not about judgment. Some people just don't really understand, but maybe with me explaining it step by step might help a little bit, okay? So that will build your confidence up. So if you need any practice problems, okay, I mentioned it before, if you go to my profile, if anything, also follow me here. Okay, so follow me here, follow me there, follow me everywhere. All right, so you'll see there's one link that's there. It's my Stan store. I actually have a free math check for you guys. All you do is exchange like your name and your email address, and it'll be delivered directly to your email. And you can practice on these 15 questions to see where you are math-wise and what areas you might need to improve on. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, not a problem, not a problem. More than willing to help. All right, so again, if you go over to like the Stan store, you'll find all the information there. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Okay, please, if you just need a plan of like, I want to take this test, but I'm freaking out. Help. Well, let's see if we can walk it through and let's see what's missing. Let's take a look. Did you take the test before? So if you are going to DM me, tell me what test you're taking, okay? Or you're planning on taking, or you know, you need some information about tutoring. Whatever it is, you can definitely DM me here on TikTok and be able to get all the stuff that you need, okay? All right, everyone. So this was my pleasure. I will see you sometime tomorrow. I think it's going to be like around 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30. It's not going to be in the morning. I'm going to try to come in the morning during the weekends. It seems like a lot more people are more up on the weekends versus during the week. All right, you are so welcome. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, everyone, have a great day and don't scroll too late. Take care. Bye now.